welcome to Starseed Mission Support. I am the EarthStar Healer. This is our weekly live stream where we support our planetary Starseed family. We're super happy and excited to be here back again. Welcome some of the new people that are tuning in live here, and of course all the beloved community that shows up here regularly. Hello to you. Yeah, we usually get started here with just a little bit of sound healing to get us in a peaceful and meditative and receptive state, to just change our brainwave states a little bit to receive, more spiritual and complex data, information. So hi, welcome to Starseed Mission Support, sending out so much love. And we're going to get started in just a few minutes here, so just hang out and relax. And we're so happy that you're here. Hello, family. Hi, family. Welcome to Starseed Mission Support. I am so excited that you're all here live. I can't believe that you're all here on time at 4:05. It almost feels like we're about to have class, and that's really fun. I think that is so cool that we've built a community here live that we get to explore these such relevant topics to our starseed mission and spend our time in a good way. There's no better thing than that. And so I'm so excited that you guys are all here. Today we're talking about the root chakra, and I was just writing some notes about this transmission today. I am so stoked because, this is really revolutionary to a starseed's understanding. I know that there is lots of fluffy information out there about the root chakra and what it is, especially, things that tend to be like 10 words long, tell you a little bit about stability and vitality. And while all those things are really true, the root chakra is truly so much more than that. And we are all about complete full spectrum understandings of reality. This is the stuff that they're hiding from people in the false matrix. And of course, because knowledge empowers us with the true ability to co-create with the reality. And that's why, so many of the false teachings that we get in the false matrix are so watered down, the law of attraction and things like that, things about manifestation and all of this. And I'm going to get into the nitty gritty, the mechanics of how this all works, the science of how our light body and our DNA and our consciousness really interacts with the fabric of reality. And of course, if there is any way for us to create a new earth and create heaven on earth as angels would do, this is the way we do it, because angels are not just these fluffy, big, cute looking things that sit in the corner and look pretty. They're really highly advanced beings that understand the science of creation, and that would be all of us. And so really, as I'm emitting the signal, I'm just speaking to those parts of you in those dimensions that already understand these things. And one of my funniest jokes I like to say is that my full-time job is to say things that you already know, because sometimes we just need people to say things that we already know to confirm that our feelings are indeed true and we're not alone in our craziness. Okay, so much love and welcome to all of you who are here live, and of course sending love out to the people who are tuning in at a later time as well. I feel like we're gonna dive right in. Oh, I have one announcement. I was informed a couple weeks ago by the Galactics that we're actually going to be doing the Pleiades Gateway again. The Pleiades Gateway started earlier this year in May, and it was this wildly successful event. I think we had like over 400 people attend all over the world, and it was a 3 to 4 day ceremony experience. And the Pleiades Gateway is basically when the Earth, the Sun, and the Pleiades are in direct alignment. And these times, I personally have always had just extraordinary synchronous experience during those gateways. And this is also a time when the Pleiadians and I, and of course Kara, those of you that know Kara, my child, um, anyway, we hold the portal open and we channel through these teachings, and they are going to be about the starseed mission and the root chakra and healing the earth self. The Galactics told me that this time the gateway is actually what is called a Transharmonic Gateway. So there's different kinds of stargates, and we'll talk about this in a later video sometime this month, just to give more context to this event. But basically, there are different kinds of stargate openings, and this specific one is called a Transharmonic Gateway, which means what happens is that a gateway opens vertically through the harmonic dimensionalities, which gives us a advantage to connecting with higher dimensional aspects because those spaces are already open. And so one way that the Galactics are leading me to facilitate is a way to really harness the power of these gate openings as to create these experiences where we can really get the most out of this. And so if you're curious about that, we're just launching this week. You can click on the link in the description. And thank you so much, Liz, for posting that in the comments. And, I've gotten just absolutely incredible feedback from the past the last time we ran this event in May. You can scroll down on the link and just see all the testimonials from the last event. You know, people really had a life-changing experience. And I know that that's what's possible when we hold this clear field for true source energy and these true master beings to come through to assist. And so I'm so excited. And yeah, so on that note, we're going to be talking about the root chakra. And this gateway is all focused on the root and the earth self, because for the most part, if you are a starseed that has a big mission, or you feel like you're here to change the world, but you're not actually living that day to day, meaning you're not, you know, waking up in the morning and talking to your team and figuring out what you're doing and then going out there and helping people, then there's kind of a disconnect. Now, usually where that disconnect is the lower chakras. And so today we're going to break down the multidimensionality of the root chakra. And this is really going to blow your mind, because it was blowing my mind as I was writing notes. I was getting so excited. This is nerdy stuff that I love. So let's just go with the details first, the simple stuff. So the root chakra first begins to develop between the age of 0 and 7. So in many of the Vedic teachings and the Indian teachings about the chakras and stuff, they say that the lower 3 chakras, our human self, really grows in cycles. And so the root chakra predominantly learns and grows and establishes itself between the ages of 0 and 7, and the sacral chakra between the ages of 8 and 14, and that's when we go through puberty and learn about relationships and sexuality. And then our solar plexus develops between the age of 15 and 21. Now, of course, this is just a bare bone structure, and other chakras are developing at the same time as well, but just during those years is especially important, and the body and the system is really focusing on the development of those chakras. And you guys just let me know if I'm talking too fast. I just know that I have a lot of information to share, so I know that I can speak a little bit quickly. And so here we go. Just let me know if I'm talking too fast and I will slow down. So let's think about this for a second, because when we're 0 to 7 years old, this is when, you know, first part of it, we're actually still nonverbal, right? We just came into this world, we just came into physicality. And so this is a time when we're learning about what physicality is and what being in the physical body feels like, and the data and the information we can get about being in the physical world, right? So the root chakra at this point, as we're developing as a toddler, as a baby, as a child, is we're learning our underlying subconscious beliefs and our relationship to reality. So what this means is how we describe the reality. So for example, the different facets of the reality that is described are things like money is hard to make, the world and people are dangerous, right? Because when we're little, our parents like, don't talk to strangers, and like we're like, oh, the reality is dangerous and you can't trust people. Another big belief is just that nothing is sacred, and that you're not sacred, or bodies are not sacred, because really for the most part, people growing up in the false matrix, they're not, you know, young people are not taught, you know, oh, your body is magnificent, your body is a sacred holy thing, your body and your soul is connected spirit. This is not taught, right? So it's not even like your parents have to teach this to you, because during that period of time, you're really looking at the environment, right? Children are mimicking what parents are doing. So rarely it's actually what your parents are telling you, and more what you are perceiving and what you're learning from the reality. And so if your parents are living in a constant state of scarcity and fear around money, that's what you're engraving into your beliefs around the reality, that there's not enough to go around, that life is hard. And another major belief is there's nothing beyond the 3D, right? There's no such thing as spirit. You can't have a telepathic communication with a tree. Again, not that people have to tell you this, but most kids just aren't seeing people talk to trees. It's not a normal thing. And so obviously as a child growing up in this false matrix society, we're learning this as part of the reality, that nothing is alive, that trees can't be talked to, animals can't be talked to, there's no such thing as a soul. These are the underlying structures of this reality that we learn to be the truth as young people. And for many of us, we're lucky that we're super connected to spirit. And so obviously there's other parts of us that are having other experiences. But I think for the most part, our parents do a really great job at squashing those beliefs by saying, oh, those fairies you're seeing, you're just imagining it. They're not real, right? Um, Another belief is that the world is just the way it is and there's nothing you can do about it, right? You're just this little person. You don't have the power to change the world. And for the most part, our parents and our teachers and the grown-ups that we see in the world, they really exist in a way of apathy, and they really do their best to cope with um, the things that are wrong with the world by convincing themselves that, the world is just the way it is and there's nothing you can do about it. So, um, other things that are normalized in the false matrix are cruelty, greed, and division, right? All of these are normal. And now, if you're thinking, well, those are things that other people believe, but it's not really what I believe. And so I want to just break this down and put a pin in this belief and say that, our mind and our consciousness can have one set of beliefs and understandings while our physical body and our subconscious is holding an entirely different set of beliefs. And unless, if, let's say, if you grew up in the false matrix, because there are some people that, very rarely are there people these days that actually grew up in a Native American tribe, completely separate from the false matrix, where there's no TV and no plastic and no McDonald's. Like, very few people actually grew up in that. So I'm going to assume that everyone that's watching this, you probably have grown up in the false matrix, and I know that I have. And so even though my soul has one set of beliefs, my earth self, my human self, actually grew up in the false matrix, meaning I went to school, I went to kindergarten, I went to the doctor's office, I probably, was born in the hospital. And these are the things that are ingrained into the fabric of our body, which are for the most part unconscious until we consciously go in to restructure. So I say, if you're a person that grew up in the false matrix, but you haven't actually intentionally gone in to restructure your root chakra, this is probably the reason why you have certain beliefs and understandings about yourself, but they don't match up with your physical reality. So one of the things that I see the most is, this discrepancy where people are like, I'm an infinite divine creator being, but then in real life, they're actually not enjoying their life, and sometimes they're broke. And so there's a discrepancy, right? So the soul believes in one thing, which is the truth, and then their human self is operating in a different, an entirely different operating system. And so this is why then, this conflict makes it impossible for us to create what our higher selves are thinking in the physical world, which is our entire job here on the planet, is to create a new planet, create a new earth in the physical. So let's break this down even more. Let's break down this word matrix for a second. So the word matrix comes from the Latin word mater, which means mother. And so this is why I never say, people say, oh, like, get out of the matrix. And I don't like to say that. I like to say get out of the false matrix, because matrix itself is just a word that describes an operating system. It describes the fabric or the frequency of reality that you are existing in, right? And so there is an organic matrix. It's a matrix in which all of life grows. And so what is that holographic template that allows the seed to grow into a plant is actually this field that nourishes all of life. So the original, I'm getting the chills from you guys, the original meaning or the original matrix is one that is life-giving, right? The original source. We talk about the original divine source, the original God. It's actually full of nourishment. It's here to love. It's here to give. It's here to give life to all things. And this is a very beautiful and sacred unity that is the matrix of the organic universe or organic consciousness. Okay? And so that's why it's important to make the distinction, because we're not trying to get, we're actually trying to get out or exit the false matrix and return to the organic matrix where all of life is coexisting together in this beautiful symphony and everything is being nourished and nourishing each other. And there's an overabundance of bliss and joy and beauty, which is the original mother womb energy. And so once we've distinguished between the false and the organic source mother, we realize that the false matrix really does trick us into believing that it's the source of our life force, right? We think, oh, if we don't get a job inside the false matrix, then we're literally going to die and we can't survive. We can't be a part of society. And when that's like literally the prison is tricking humans into believing that the false matrix is a source of life, when really it's just pretending and tricking people so that it's actually taking, is the reversal, where it's taking and stealing and parasiting off of people instead of giving them life truly. And so the false matrix is basically an operating system that's installed into the hardware of your physicality or the root chakra. Okay? And what the operating system is that there's these integers or qualities that are of that operating system. So the easiest way to say this is that the false matrix operating system is one that operates on fear and misery. And the organic matrix operating system is one that operates on love and joy. Okay? Now, this is actually really profound when you really think about it, because, this is actually what I'm saying is that as you deprogram yourself from the false matrix operating system and you begin to install the organic matrix operating system, which means that you are living in alignment and in the sensation and in the complete connection and in the laws of creation inside of the organic operating system, you're basically projecting that new operating system into the collective hologram. And so this is actually the real way that we create a new earth, right? This is when all of our actions and our decisions and the way that we spend our time and energy, when we reclaim all of that life force and all of that time and exert it, express it, live it in complete alignment with organic operating system, which takes time. This process took me 6 or 7 years to get through. And it was very clear even when this process started, because I remember I was on the phone back in like 2014 and these words came through. They're like, you're upgrading your operating system. I was like, what the heck does that mean? But I have a feeling that this is why the false matrix is really wrought with these superficial teachings, because they're just trying to get people to hooked into co-creating with the false matrix section of the spiritual section of the false matrix. Because, instant gratification is kind of a way that you trick a human being into believing that they're getting things done, right? And so, I really feel like this way of being, this is really something that has been drilled into my being. And I don't really hear any other people really talking about this in the scientific manner, just because I feel like because I'm a geneticist from a different dimension, this is just how I perceive reality and how I operate. And I've noticed that, for example, just an example, if you are going to your job, right, because you are afraid that if you don't go to your job, then you're not going to have money, then you're not going to be able to survive. So the motivation of you doing something and exerting your energy is operating from that fear operating system. Because if that wasn't there, if that fear of survival wasn't there, meaning you had already everything taken care of for you, would you still go to that job? Now, the thing is that I'm not saying you should go and quit your job, because that would be acting out of step. Meaning what I like to do is that I like to shift the operating system from inside first, and then the reality outside of you will shift. For a great example of this would be the year that I fully exited the false matrix, I actually decided to get a job, right? So I was basically leaving my car and living off of like different, grants and different kinds of things like that. But I really wasn't making enough money to support, this level of creativity. I didn't have my own house. I needed the space. I didn't have, a bunch of things that I have access to now that supports my vitality. And so I realized that what I needed to do was to actually go and get a job to create a bridge. But the way that I perceived that job was different. It was like, instead of thinking, well, I have to go to this job because, I'm not, I was from the angle of fear, I decided to perceive it as, no matter what it was, that it was a bridge for me to reach the next phase of my life. And just that simple switch in my perception corrected which operating system I was working in, right? So this is all an inside job. Um, So another thing that is connected to this, um, what I'm trying to say here is that reality is holographic. And so I'm sure all of you have heard that we create the reality, right? We create our reality. But 98% of the time, they're saying it and it's actually delusional, because they're saying, oh, I create my reality, so, blah, blah, blah. And they're saying that, oh, if you just think about something, just think about the new earth and it's going to happen. If you think about something, you're going to attract it. Well, the thing is that your thoughts are a very fine, subtle frequency wave, right? What is creating the mass majority of the frequencies that are emitting from your field is actually your etheric bodies, your emotional bodies, your genetic bodies. And so those are actually the things that are creating reality. And that's why, people say, well, if I create the reality, why are the masses still panicking about, this and that? And why are they not awake? It's because for the most part, the light workers aren't actually raising our vibration, meaning it's not just about drinking matcha lattes, even though matcha lattes are great. I love matcha lattes. When it's actually really about going down into the denser fields and going into the mainframe of our physicality, the root chakra, and actually dissecting what distortions of the false matrix you're actually still running, and that is what's perpetuating the false matrix outside of our being. Okay? And so when we actually begin to embody, and this is where the hard work is, it is, I almost swore again. I swore in my last video again, so we'll try not to do that today. But I mean, this is the really hard stuff, because I can't tell you, like, you guys can't tell because I put a little bit of makeup on, but you can definitely see this going on. But I spent, 4 to 5 hours yesterday just weeping hysterically. Like, I couldn't stop. I don't think I've ever cried so hard. And why was I crying? It was because I was doing this root chakra work. I was going down in there and I was feeling how ashamed and embarrassed and violated and hurt I felt that since the time I was born, and even before that, this force has just been abusing my innocence. And this is literally not just like an emotion that you can access if you, haven't worked through other layers of yourself. But I think that every human being on this planet feels that there's something off going on, right? I mean, even my mom knows that there's something that is strange about this planet. I don't think there really is any human being that thinks, oh yeah, everything's going great. The whole planet is great. Everything's great. There's nobody that thinks that. But the reason why, most people choose not to dissect what's wrong and to actually feel is that because it's actually so painful, right? To feel all the ways that we have been abused as a humanity by this false matrix, by this parasitic force, by this AI. We as a universal body, the pristine beauty and love of creation and how it's just been degraded. And one way that I have, processed this week is just feeling like So this being, my human self, um, discovered pornography when I was 11 years old, which is like, before anyone has had a talk about sexuality with me. And I would consider that as sexual abuse that has occurred just from the false matrix, from society, right? And we have to acknowledge is that is a true thing. Like growing up in the false matrix and being just bombarded by the media and these celebrities and like giving us this role model as young children of this distorted sexuality. This is abuse. I would call that, societal sexual abuse, which is why when I teach and support healing sexual abuse is never just about, if you have experienced something in the physical, and not even connecting to the things that have happened in the astral plane and the abductions and the reptilians and all of that. But it's all the holistic system that is all coming from the same source with the same intention of degrading human sexuality. And that actually comes back to the root chakra as well, right? I just went on a little tangent there. But what I'm trying to say here is that it's not easy work. Nobody sits around and just says, "Well, oh, I think I'll devote the rest of my life to excavating the pain body of the universe." And I mean, I feel like everybody that's here, that's tuning into this live stream and a recording, you are the people, the warriors that are here to do the real work. You are here to be the real light workers. We're not just sprinkling glitter on things. We're here to acknowledge the real crappy things that are out there, right? We're not just spreading, news articles about pedophilia when is a trend. It's like we feel these distortions and how they've impacted us in our own field. And we begin by healing and correcting. And this is not only is it an inside job, but is a long-term job. It's not something that you do one day or through one class. This is really something that happens over years and years of excavation. And the reason is that your ancestors and humanity, and so even the galactic, your galactic side's missions, our human ancestors, first of all, lived in the slavery system for thousands of years, right? Deeply ingrained in planetary, it's like ingrained in the planetary, I call it EarthStar. This is why my work is called EarthStar Healing, because I feel that my soul's mission, my soul's purpose is to support humanity and this planet in healing the planetary EarthStar, which is a mycelium psychic system of how all of life relates to the oneself. So humans have been completely severed from that relating to the oneself. And when we begin to reconnect humans to the earth, they connect to the sky, and then everything comes back into harmony. Now, because humans have been out of harmony from that for a long time in a planetary slavery system, and a lot of us are carrying galactic traumas from other planets in which the AI have touched and have destroyed, and from the fall of Lyra, and all of these different, this has been happening for millions of years. We've all experienced a lot of different things, and it just so happens that this is the spectacular moment in time when the universe has this opportunity to evolve as a whole. And so we're really trying to resolve all the crap. We're really trying to resolve all the crap. All of the pain, all of the misery that has been created for us to move into this next phase of our evolution. And so because of that, right, these distortions in our field, in our physicality, in our DNA, will severely outweigh your sprinkly thoughts like, oh, I'm a light worker, and that means I have magical powers. And, it's like, if they're just like these light waveform thoughts that are way far away in your 12th dimensional body or whatever, the chances of that anchoring down into the 3D to actually create a difference in this world is, like I say, is delusional for people to think that they've done no work on themselves, they've done no excavation, they've done no healing, and they think if they just use their brain, they're going to create new Earth. And, obviously it's not judgment, because the false matrix and the new age manipulators have really done everything they can to distract all of us from doing the work that we knew we came here to do for ourselves, for our planet, for our universe. And so Let's take a breath here. Okay, so our reality is holographic because humans, these brilliant, beautiful, miraculous bodies, they were literally designed to be the house or the vessel of a creator being, meaning we intended for these vessels to house a high percentage of God consciousness, to experience, like God could experience itself in these vessels. That is spectacular, because what that means is that there are qualities of God that these bodies are meant to experience. And what are the qualities of God? These are what we would call Siddhic powers, right? And so part of that is that we create our reality. When our DNA is completely operating correctly in its original template, are there any humans whose DNA is operating in that original template? There are probably a few in the mountains, in the high mountains of the Himalayas, right? We hear these stories. But for the most part, most starseeds, we're really just in the beginning of that process. And so it's true that we create our reality. And that's also why the false matrix is there and the artificial reality is obviously still in the hologram, because our DNA and our root chakra and our physicality is actually, for the most part, still co-creating and perpetuating that reality from the subconscious indoctrination we've received as a humanity. And that's part of the grooming, part of the mind control, right? The mind control is really to insert all these beliefs so that you are actually creating your own prison. And so the starseeds, we come in here and we're just really busting it all up. And the way that we do that is to really get real with the reality that we're creating, not from up here, but from our whole spectrum system, from all layers of our field, right? Because if, and this is what I was saying, is that if we have a belief that we are infinite creator beings. This is beautiful, and it's such a truth. It's true because God is infinitely creative, and these vessels are meant to be, vessels and home of that God consciousness, which means it's true. You are here to experience infinite creation inside of your body. Now, if that's what it feels like up here, but your root chakra is like, oh, I don't know if I can get a job, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to pay my bills, and oh, what's my mom going to think if I start talking about aliens on the internet, and all of these fears. Are we actually embodying and existing as that infinite creator, or are we actually just thinking that that's what we are, but in reality we're a malfunctioning human being just like everyone else? And that's not to say that's a bad thing. I have to tell you that that's where this being started, right? I mean, I was just doing drugs and partying in my early 20s, and I almost died. Aliens had to come and save me. Like, aliens literally saved my life. And then I lived in my car and I was homeless. I really just had no idea what I was doing. And then I realized that unless I get serious about the real work, and I'm so lucky that I was guided by, these brilliant star beings that really gave me, the good stuff and not just the fluffy stuff. It really gave me the mechanisms of how to heal myself. And they told me that it was going to take 7 years. And I just want to say that there are some things that are worth working really hard for. And one of those things is freeing the children and freeing this planet, and I think that so many times, because in our society, we're not really taught what working hard from a place of love motivation, from a place of devotion to life, what that can feel like, that it's not a template that we can relate to. Monkey Magic is saying, Z, is it possible for us to know whether we're supporting the false matrix from the root chakra? So I'm just going to go out on a limb and say every single person in this room, including myself, is still co-creating the false matrix. Okay? Now, we're all doing that to different extents. And I'm saying that this is a process that takes a lot of time, because we're literally talking about the restructuring of physicality. Think about how much work it takes to work out and change your body, right? Change the shape of your body. This is like the most internal process. And then we think about, how, like, let's say, all right, go ahead and create $1 million so that you can create a sanctuary for going animals that are going extinct. Let's say that that's what you're into. Now, what is the first thing that comes to mind? If it's, oh, I don't know, like, where the heck am I going to get that? It's impossible. I'm going to have to, like, go to a job I hate to create that abundance. And obviously, we have subconscious beliefs that are things that the false matrix and our parents have taught us, right? Because the operating system, and this is things that we can break down. These are things that I'm going to be devoting a lot of time to breaking down inside of my school, because these things, you can't just like talk about it once a week. You really have to create systems. And yesterday I brought through all of the classes, and it's like, okay, 7 years of devotion to the healing process is a lot of time for things to happen. So obviously it can't just be like, oh, okay, first you do this and then you do this and then you're out of the false matrix. It's like we are multidimensional. So there's so many little crevices that these distortions can hide. And to this day, I still find those distortions in my field, even though I've really been focused on clearing these things for a long time. And it's because they're so sneaky. They're things that we think is just normal and what reality is. And so, it's kind of hard to take a step outside of yourself to say, okay, what things that I think is normal is actually a mind control program. It's just a tricky thing to do. So, um, one thing that I want to bring through here is this awareness that our sexual organs are actually close, or at least the pleasure centers in our sexual organs are closer to the root chakra than the sacral chakra. And, why is that? Is because reality, as it was designed by our higher self unity, by God, was that life is meant to be full of pleasure. Life is meant to be lived in love and joy. That's why, think about it. The root chakra is where vital energy or life force flows into reality to take form, right? So life force energy is flowing into our system, and it gives vitality to our form, to our physical body. So this is also, where invisible people come through the portal and they exit through the root chakra, right? They exit through the vaginal opening, which is really in the root chakra, and they're coming in from the etheric and they're coming into physicality. So this is also true for our reality. And so we're connecting, and now we see, the sexual misery program has just got to be its own episode. But basically, let's even think about the birthing paradigm, right? We think, oh, giving birth to children is this scary, painful thing. A lot of my friends that are in their 20s are like, I'm not having kids because this is just too scary and it's just too painful. And so this is what we subconsciously as a society think, that birthing, that life, ether, source coming into form is painful. Our experience of physicality is painful, and it's hard, right? And it's dangerous. When really what these star babies and my baby Kara, they're really teaching me is that, birth originally is orgasmic and is full of pleasure and is full of primal power, which is how we're meant to experience life and reality. And so that's one thing. Like, let's say, for example, right? Everybody, this is your root chakra check right here. If I say life is brilliant and easy and full of pleasure, is that something that you completely agree with? Or are there parts of you that, like, this lady is crazy? Life is hard, and, I rarely get to do what I want. And, it's really hard to, get anything done. It's hard to make money and all of this, right? So that's when we know we have parts of ourself that are in the false matrix operating system. And this can go into so many the false matrix has really done itself in replicating all facets of reality. It's created its own distortion in all facets of reality. And so let's do another one. Let's say money is easy to create, and you and I can create whatever it is that I want, that God wants, in joy and excitement and pleasure. I mean, there's parts of, it's like if you say that to a regular person like my dad, he's gonna be like, you're crazy, right? Because I'm thinking about how much sacrifices and hard work and, just not enjoying it, but having to do it. Some of that grimy misery energy just to get some energy to sustain life, right? So this is how deep this is, right? Because this, again, is very normal. Like if the masses say, if everyone says, oh yeah, we all agree that making money is hard, and you can't just go and build a healing center. You can't just go and buy 1 million acres of land. It's easy to get feedback and agreement on those sort of distorted thoughts because most people, that's what they believe. But for the star beings, you have this massive mission. They've shown me these visions of, major healing centers being built in all major cities, like hundreds of these huge healing centers. They're like, this is what we're going to build. You're going to create. Not only, like, we're not going to come and give you the money to do that, because a lot of light workers are like, oh, one day, aliens are going to show up, they're going to give me the money, and then I can be on my mission. But the whole point is that this root chakra lesson here is so important because the process of you creating from this different operating system is actually part of your mission. Because when you create in alignment with the original laws of creation, meaning the original operating system, meaning if you make $1 million operating entirely in your integrity and in your love and in your devotion, working 100% in perfect resonance with the laws of creation, and then you use that money to create something in the 3D, that is creating a ripple on the planet. That's just like exponentially more than if someone just came and gave you the money, right? Because there was no depth and no physical exertion and no interaction with the hologram from your DNA, from your source, to create that energy. And so this is really why why doing this hard work is worth it. Sometimes I feel like I'm just campaigning for these hard jobs. I'm like, all right, like who wants to do the hardest job ever? And I'm like, this is like I'm looking up at them. I'm like, who would want to do this? Well, they're like, well, it feels good to reclaim your creator power, first of all, right? And again, you guys, this is hard. I'm telling you, I'm just gonna give you like a secret. I don't really like talking about, money and this kind of stuff because, people have their misperceptions about money. But as I was saying, I was homeless. And the thing is that when I was homeless, my template is so pure that I'm not allowed to create in miscreation. Meaning I'm not allowed to just start a business and sell things if they're not operating in the absolute alignment with the original creational law. So that is the laws of overabundance, the laws of unconditional love, the laws of, unconditional service, and all of those things that we have to abide by as an angel, as an angelic being, which I think every single person watching this, you are a high level, upper dimensional being that has to operate in alignment with these laws as well, which means, that's why it's been so hard for you and why, some people can literally scam people for money. Some people can just say, oh, I'm a goddess, come take my vagina class and, I'll teach you how to whatever. And they're like making hundreds of thousands of dollars and really they're teaching people nothing. And it's like, okay, those people, how come those people are allowed to do that? But like so many of us aren't. And it's because our job is to anchor the original template, and doing those kinds of things would just be like the opposite of being on our mission. And so it took many years for me to figure out this template, which my baby helped me do a lot, Kara, she really taught me, about the original mechanics of creation, which I think there's a video called Creation and Sexuality on my channel, if you want to go and check that out. But again, these teachings, they're not like something you take a 3-day class or you meditate for a week and you expect to be totally healed. This is a process of literally restructuring the universe. And this is, the mission, they call it the Christos realignment mission, which is the mission that Jesus was on, is the mission that all of these sages are on, which is to completely realign and restructure all the fallen architecture in the universe, all of the fallen consciousness, all of the beings that lost their way. This mission is the restructuring and the reconnection and the complete healing of this universal consciousness so that we can evolve and move on to the next experiment. Right? And so, a lot of us resonate with the word bodhisattva, which is kind of, an old paradigm, thought process of, sometimes it comes with these ideas of sacrifice, but for the most part, it's very true where we don't want to leave anyone behind. And we know that even the demons, they played the hardest role, and our job is to love them so much that they remember who they really are deep, deep inside. Okay. And so that's a big job, right? You literally can't just sit around and, watch Netflix all day and hope that one day, miraculously you're on your mission and you heal the universe. And this is really all about, if you want to participate, is really about if you feel satisfied to sit around and watch Netflix and wait for other people to do the work, or if you want to jump in and be a participant of this cosmic mission that we're all on to restore the original laws of creation, which begins inside of our own hologram, inside of our own body. Okay? And so it's funny, TJ's like, so watching Real Wives won't get me on my mission? So here's the thing, it's a spectrum, right? So I'm not saying that all of a sudden you have to just like cut out everything that's the false matrix, but it's about reclaiming your time. So in your day, if you're spending an hour watching The Real Housewives and you're only spending 5 minutes, working on yourself and doing your healing, then you're basically voting with your time what reality you want to be in, right? Because your time, how you experience time and how you own your time and how you move through time is how you create, is what you're choosing. So if you're and don't judge yourself. We're always talking about things from a place of unconditional love. We're just noticing, right? Because only love can motivate you to do things to the extent that we need, right? And so, when I'm saying these things that are kind of harsh, like, it's never to be like, you're not doing good enough. It's just to recognize. And even if you watch Netflix 10 hours a day, I still love you. It's okay. And just the fact that you're here, it's enough to tell me that, you're seeking a change. You're wanting to do something else. And so recognize what you're doing with your time, and slowly reclaiming it is how you take back your choice and take back your sovereignty and take back your creational energy. Right? So slowly you're actually doing more things that are in the organic matrix than in the false matrix. And then eventually you will completely migrate to the new operating system. And only from that place can you, really start to restructure the physical world. And like I was saying, I really don't like to talk about specifics like this because I don't want to just sound like I'm boasting, or I don't like to, whatever. But this is really just reflecting because, again, I knew that my job was to completely create in integrity, because restoring creation as creator beings, it doesn't really matter. Like, I didn't have a preference. It was not like, oh, Z really wants to live in a fancy house and Z wants a fancy car. I was like, I didn't actually really mind that much living in a car and sleeping by the river sometimes. But it's more like when I was sleeping in the car and by the river, I didn't really have any power to help anyone else because I was like barely surviving myself. And I asked my guides, how can I create, massive abundance while still being in absolute integrity, because I know that this is possible. And so one thing that came in is this phrase, money is love. And this is something that is very profound, okay? And I'm immediately triggering people, and that's okay. So hear me out. One day, this beautiful feminine goddess being came to me. And she basically told me that she is the spirit of money, and that she feels that she is a component or an aspect of creation because she's really a vehicle for creation, right? And so she feels like she's literally being trafficked because she doesn't want to create control systems. She doesn't want to create jabs. She doesn't want to create, things that hurt people. And she was really upset because there were people that were using her and controlling her and using it for bad. And she hates that. She wants to create the new earth. And she was telling me that she wants to be with people like us. She wants to be with the light workers. She wants to be with people that have true purity in their heart. Okay? That have true integrity in their being. And there's so many people that say, well, I really can talk to the land, and I talk to the trees, and I talk to the spirits, and I want to steward, millions of acres, and I want to build these beautiful retreat centers, and I want to, all these things. But what's one thing that's stopping them? Every single time is money. Every single time is finances. Okay? And so I decided, I had these dreams too, in the beginning of this, these ETs coming in, they're like, all right, so we need to give you guys $14 trillion to steward for this planetary mission, because we're going to need it, right? To build infrastructure and the things to heal all the humans. But we can't just give it to you, because then you haven't proven that you can actually steward it. You haven't proven to the field that your system is capable of handling that much creational power. So basically what you need to do is to train your system and to heal yourself and to embody so much mastery that you create that abundance yourself. In absolute correct alignment with purity and creational laws. Okay? And to this day, even my physical body is just wired like this. Unless there's absolute purity, absolute unconditional love, my body will not feel any pleasure. And when I'm creating something that I know is just full of so much love, I will literally get sexually aroused. This is just how my body is literally wired to operate in original creation. So when I started trusting myself and really operating in this way, I realized that, one of the tenets of this is overabundance. And so I created this shamanism class in 2021 that was 13 months long. And the material that I was sharing, many other people are not teaching to the depth of this knowledge, but are charging thousands of dollars for these schools that are, 3-4 months long. And for me, I knew that I needed to just hold the space and to share this knowledge from a pure place in my heart. And so that's why my school is only $89 a month, and I will never raise the price. That's always what it's going to be, because I believe in overabundance. And what happened was, immediately people could feel the purity and the joy and the pure motivation in that creation. And so, Imari, this school is evolving and is going to be opening in February. But anyway, this is what I believe. And, in the year of 2021, I'm pretty sure we made, 350K. And people in my school are, so excited. They're having brilliant experiences of transformation, and they, have never received or felt these levels of activations because we work in integrity. And then what did I do with that money? I pretty much supported star seeds. um I really should have been better at saving money and being smarter with money, and these are the lessons that I'm learning through this process of organic growth, right? And I've had friends who this has happened with, where somebody just gives them like $800,000 and they basically lost it all because they just gave it to people because they don't know how to manage and create with creational energy. And so this is what we're learning through organic growth, But when I had that level of stability, when I knew I created in the original template and I was creating that abundance, I could, if one of my starseed friends were like, I need to do this thing, I need to take this class, I need to travel to this place, I just need to pay my rent, I could just send them the financial support. And that's something that I love to do. And I realized that, through that experience, I could sense that my heart was in the right place. I basically spent not a lot of it on myself, and I basically gave it to other people. And that was a poor decision because, I could have invested it better, but I'm learning, and this is what we're doing. And so I'm sharing this even though it's very uncomfortable for me, because I believe that we're meant to embody and experience ourselves as infinite creators. What that means is actually creating from a place of absolute unconditional love and absolute connection and fulfillment of the creational laws. And through that process, it's very powerful that I'm doing this here at the Stargate, because as I'm moving in every moment that I'm making decisions and I'm doing transactions and I'm sharing my energy, this is the template that is anchoring into the planet. And so I know that me as a reflection, we're all this people that feel powerful. You feel this power. You feel like you want to make huge difference in the world, that you are literally built for it. You have the body, you have the human body, you have the DNA template to literally be a creator being, right? And what that means is you can either choose to operate in absolute alignment, or you can operate, in resonance with the false matrix. And for the most part, if we don't excavate the false matrix, we're going to co-create with the false matrix. We're going to do, and that's why there's so many spiritual, oh, make 10K a month. That's like a thing, make 10K a month. Doesn't matter if you actually have the skills to help people. Doesn't matter if you've, actually gone through your initiations. All that matters is you're making 10K a month. And I just personally feel like that is still the spiritual part of the false matrix. And so I can't tell you enough that, we're serious about real knowledge and real creational operations. And this is what we teach in our school. And, the school is going to be launched in February of 2022. And again, what you're going to receive is just miles, exponentially more than what you're going to be paying for, because that's just, how I operate, and that's just what I believe. Because I believe that if everyone did that, we would have a world of overabundance. We would have no scarcity if everyone just gave what they had, and you know, we would just be in a different world. And so that's the way that I like to operate, because I believe when we operate in alignment, we correct the architecture of the reality. And this is all multidimensional, and this is all how we operate. And I want to give you guys all the goods and teach you how to do this, you know, through a broken down, simple process. That's why I have the beginner class, because I really go through all the different chakras class by class, teach you all the tools on self-healing, because then after that, you'll be ready. You have the context to actually start to do the multidimensional DNA activations and receive the more advanced teachings. And then you're going to have all of the tools to actually be an embodied warrior on this planet. And so, yeah, we're so excited about that. Let's see here. And so, yeah, here's what we say. That took a long time to restructure, right? Because this reality that creation is natural, it's easy, as long as the motivation is unconditional love. Like, our unconditional love is valuable. Think about that one. How many times did your parents say, well, you're a really nice kid, but you're really gonna have to do something else? Not not encourage you to value the greatest thing about you, which is your love, your purity, your template. And so I'm reflecting that at you and saying, these are the most valuable things about you. We just have to learn how to transform those things into whatever other kind of energy that we need. And in this case, it could be money. In other cases, it could be land, it could be a house, it could be, whatever it is that we need. So we're changing the operating system, and it's all very exciting. And so I know that a lot of us are waiting for the school to open. And I just want to say that, the Pleiades Gateway is going to be a really great taster of what's coming, because the Pleiades Gateway is just so dear to my heart. And this time is really all about, I'm going to be spending 2 whole days. That's 4 workshops on breaking down the root chakra and going into details about how to actually heal these things. And we're actually also going to do something called the J seals and artificial implants removal, which is like these seals that negative aliens have placed in all these different dimensionalities of our being. And so, yeah, I just highly recommend, if you're feeling resonance with this, the galactics come in and we're doing 3 ceremonies, which is like 3 2-hour long healings for 3 days in a row. And we're intending to bring in our higher self. So if you're somebody that's like, I don't know if I have a team, I don't know if I'm really connecting with my higher self, the Transharmonic Gateway, which is what this Stargate opening is, it's literally a moment in time when the stars and the light body of the earth is aligned in a way where higher harmonics open up and we have an easier time in accessing those galactic spaces. And so this event is literally designed for you to work through some of these dense layers and access your higher self, so you can feel, you can have a visceral experience of contact with real beings of masters, real master beings of creation. And it is online. A lot of people love it. Cassandra, if you wouldn't mind posting the link again, the link is down in the description as well. And you can go and check out the testimonials of people that just loved this event so much. It's just I'm saying it like I love it. It's not because I do a great job. I just know that the galactics are just, they give so many gifts. And the gateway itself, it's just absolutely incredible. And I myself always receive so much. And so I'm really just talking to you like I'm another participant, which I am. So, I love you guys so much. Again, this is just skimming the surface, because this is really the stuff that, they've really burnt in the libraries. And these are the things that have been distorted into the different control system that the cabal uses. And they understand grid lines. They understand consciousness. They understand these things. That's why they can create these incredible mind control technologies, because they're really just taking our source technology and flipping it. Okay? And so in order for us to really make a difference in the world, we have to get as equipped with knowledge, with real creation knowledge that we apply. It's not intellectual, right? It's about an experience inside of our bodies, inside of our templates. And so Layla says, can I do it? Yes, you can do it in Australia. And Sarah was saying something about how she was studying with a teacher for many years, and realized that her teacher was creating within the false matrix. Now, here's the thing. I haven't really met anyone that is just operating in pure original consciousness. And this is something that I feel like I'm doing my best in doing, like, and even then, like, one of the distortions that I had was that I definitely was still people pleasing. And so I was like, it was this like over giving, I had a lot of people on the land, and like then that created distortion. So like I'm very aware of the ways that I still need to correct my field to be able to anchor even more energy, because I need to trust myself to be able to operate. But this is the thing that, when when people do not have these backgrounds of understanding, such as, you know, being an interdimensional geneticist, it's easy to slide. It's like, well, you know, everybody else is operating at 20% light, so, you know, why can't I do that too? Um, and so it's very rare that you will really truly experience that. And here's the thing though, like this is what you're here to do, right? This is a whole new wave of the creation that we are here to um participate in and to make happen. And so this is really something that you have to choose inside of yourself. Like, how far do you want to go with this? Me, I want to be in absolute integrity and complete connection with the source templates because that's all that matters to me. I love creation so much, and you know, I would rather be, you know, broke than to do something that betrays myself. And the fact that the false matrix almost like forced me to betray myself in the way that it showed me pornography when I was a little child, that then, you know, imprinted me with these distortions. That felt so upsetting to me that, you know, that it tricked me into betraying my own template, my own source, my own authenticity around this very intimate place inside of myself. And so I invite you to get just as upset with the ways that the false matrix have distorted your field and to fight, right? Fight, not like fighting, but fight inside of yourself to find that purity, to find that perfect creational template that is inside of your DNA and operate in alignment with that at all costs. Because at the end of the day, even if you died doing that, your soul will thank you for it, right? Um, okay, and there's somebody here says, what is your understanding of synchronicity? So my understanding of synchronicity is that when you're in, this is actually a great question that is super connected to our conversation today, because when you're in the false matrix, right, you think there's no connection, meaning everything is random, everything is separate from another, nothing is communicating with itself, and especially that you are separate. In the false matrix, we think that we are separate from like this mind and this body. We're separate from outside, the external reality. There's no correlation there, right? And so when we're in the false matrix, let's say that this is the false matrix and this is the original creation. We're like off center. We're just slightly distorted, so we're not accessing the original. When we're not connected to everything as in the organic matrix. Now, when you start to wake up, it means that you're beginning to shift yourself out of the false matrix little by little. And so you're going to start to connect back in. You're going to start to align little by little to the organic matrix where everything is connected, right? Where we know that our internal state affects the external, and there is a connection between our thoughts and the world we experience around us. And so this is when we experience synchronicity, because, you know, we're like, oh, I just thought about that, and then I saw that person, or I just had this thought and I saw that billboard, or that billboard is talking to me. And all these little synchronicities is just the beginning of us clicking in to the original matrix. And actually, you know, in my book, you'll find that as I was, you know, awakening, that every single second of my life became a synchronicity, and that synchronicity is actually the normal state of the universe when everything is running correctly and we're not trapped in a distorted, separate false matrix, because the constant connection, the consistent connection of everything is just the underlying operating system. Okay? And so that's what I think about synchronicity, and super good question. Okay. And on that note, I think I am going to just sing a quick frequency transmission. And I hope that this transmission was clear. You can give me feedback and let me know if you got value out of this time together today. And yes, I love you all so much. I'm so excited to spend my Saturdays here with you. And Hmm. Okay. We like this new mic. I don't have to hold it. Oops. It looks like the internet worked until the end. So that was good. Well, I love you guys so much. This mic is great. It makes me want to keep singing. All right. I love you so much. I'm excited. I'm so excited because I have to tell you guys that it's like after the movie ends and the credit goes for a bit and then like the movie comes back. It's like the secret section of the mission of the transmission, but it was a couple times in my life when there was a couple of people that have offered me literally millions of dollars to help me build my center. And the land literally would just reject their money. Like crazy things would happen. They like would literally go crazy and like different kinds of things that would literally be like out of this world intense, okay? Like one of the guys had chronic pain in his body for 20 years and he had just gotten a bunch of money from his divorce settlement. But the thing is that, he had sort of a strange, miserable relationship, and that money was from like his, wife's mom, who, probably didn't create the money in great ways, because you can make money by loving people and working in integrity, or you can have slaves, right? And build railroads or whatever it is that, the elites do that make them lots of money, but it's dirty money. So I don't know how exactly that money came to be, but this man, he basically had 20 years of chronic pain. And, he was like, really enthralled by these gifts that I had. He loved that my singing, and I told him that I was going to help him heal. And so I brought him here to the land, and literally within I think, a few minutes, we like drove onto the land and I told him to take this tobacco and to make an offering. And as soon as he made the offering with the tobacco, all of his chronic pain in his body just like disappeared. And for the next, 3, 4 days that we were there, he was literally running through the hills. He's like, I haven't run in years, I have this crazy pain in my body. And so he was so touched by that experience that he was like, oh, I'm going to give you this money. I want to help you build the center. And then the land literally just heck noped that money through like, it was this crazy thing. Like he literally like almost cut off his finger and he had to get surgery. And then while he was in surgery, this crazy demon came in and it was just this whole crazy drama. Okay. Actually, when I'm making the connection, because this demon that came through him, he said that when he was under anesthesia, that he saw this demon come through and this demon was trying to attack me. And so he woke up from that anesthetic dream or whatever, and he continued to just basically do what the demon wanted. And through that experience, I basically, something just took away my psychic sight, and my psychic sight was, how I was generating money. And so basically within a few weeks or something of being in presence with this person and this demon, it drained me of my life force. And this was a big initiation that I had to go through, because at that moment when I had no money and I had nothing and I lost the most precious thing to me, like my abilities, there was only one thing that I knew I needed to do, and that was to fast and meditate for as long as it took to correct that situation on the land, right? And because I knew that it needed to be an inside job, like there was nobody I could ask for help, because there was just like, when you're operating in a certain level of shamanism, there's just not very many people that you can ask for help, because you've reached a place where you're accessing things that most people haven't even heard of. And so I knew that this was an initiation for me, and I literally fasted and meditated on the land for a week. This is before I moved in full time. And yeah, basically I there was this crazy experience where the government just like by surprise sent me $1,600. And that was when I realized that this whole creation through devotion and alignment and, the template thing is real. And, obviously, then I was standing outside and I was like, okay, I'm meant to create what I need through just offering my love and learning how to create in the original template, because that's also what the world needs. Humans needed to remember how to create in alignment with original laws of creation. And this was something that I can do in 3D that's going to bring through this template on the way. We multitask on the way to creating these temples. And so, they gave me this template to create this massive Stargate portal. And I know that it's going to be like, hundreds of millions of dollars to build, because you think of like all of these magnificent architecture, in order to build these things, it requires energy. And I know that I'm an infinite creator being. And so it's taken me a long time to realize how important it was for me to learn how to create, because clearly nobody was coming to just give me the money. And even in all the dreams that I've had about these big things I was about to do, every single one of those dreams, I created the money that I needed. And it wasn't some alien that just gave it to me. And it wasn't the government that just gave it to me. And for a lot of people, that might be the case. But for a lot of it, really just depends on, how deeply you believe in yourself. And so that was the final anecdote of the day. And I love you guys so much. And I know that sometimes it can be really dense, but just know that, the frequency is the most important thing, and you're getting the frequency. You can sit with this. It took me 7 years to integrate the truth that's in this template that I was just sharing with you. And so I don't think it's going to take you as long, because the field is created and you can really just like soak it all up. But it's also still not going to be, overnight. And so, okay, I love you guys, and I will see you next week. Bye for now.